everybody, Dutch Sense here. 3:03 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, January 20th, 2015. And I've got you looking at Earthquake 3D here, and we're just looking at the last 24 hours of movement in the United States. And a few things have occurred that I want to draw your attention to right off the bat. The area that we were watching on the West Coast, I'm going to put a link down below in the description box below this video so you can go watch my earthquake update from yesterday, where I put on notice the West Coast from Mono Lake south to Los Angeles roughly for an area to watch for 4 to 5.0 movement. And 4.4 struck last night. It's been really quiet there in California. A few 3.0s, but we've been watching specifically for that movement, and now it hit. Also, in the same time that that hit, just over the past few hours, 2 more back-to-back earthquakes in Texas, Dallas, Texas. So let's look up the largest earthquake here. Okay, we've got a 3.0 and 3.1 miles deep. Now, if you're a viewer of mine or a reader, you already know what that means, but I can go prove to you what this means. And if you're a new viewer, you have no clue what I'm talking about. If you're a professional, you're probably gonna guess what I'm getting ready to show you, okay? So let's zoom in on the area where there's been earthquakes, and there have been earthquakes here in the past. Last year, 2014, also 2013. So I'm familiar with the area. I spent hours looking over these subdivisions trying to find out if there's any type of oil or gas well operation. And what I found is what appears to be a very old well. And we all know that Dallas and Texas, known for its drilling and pumping operations. But we'll let this image load. You can see concrete apparatus, old tank, and a square pad. Now, what does that sound like, guys? Okay, well, if you need any proof, let me just go ahead and show you here. We've got just across the few city blocks, we've got several brand new frac wells. And I'm talking right off your highway, guys. If you live in Texas, what is this? I guess 183 and 360. At the intersection of 183 and 360, look what you've got. Okay? So I don't need to tell you what these are. These are frac wells. This is where they do injection into the ground of wastewater, and it'll fracture the ground out underneath, and that produces sometimes very sizable earthquakes. And they said that that could never happen. But I mean, you know, look, I mean, these are right next. You've got houses here, and you've got a frac well right across the street with a nasty frac pond. And they'll line this with plastic like that's going to help. Doesn't stop animals from landing in it, that's for sure. Gosh, can you imagine a duck swimming around in there? So, you know, guys, that's what's going on in your neck of the woods, right across town. Of course, they've built over and paved over a lot of these old wells where they used to do oil pumping and drilling in Dallas proper. So I urge you guys to come down here, look up the earthquake coordinates. Go see if you can find anything else. This is what I was able to find nearby. I'm sure there's more. So these new wells that they're building, the new operations, are supposed to be designated. They're supposed to be very visible, properly maintained, enough space around them. But the older wells, like these abandoned wells here, you really have to look hard. I mean, really, I scoured and scoured and scoured, and then I found this, and I said, eureka, it's right there. How did I miss it? After looking over multiple subdivisions. Okay, guys, so that is a confirmation to me that the craton is moving, and that, of course, we can expect more swarm activity now that we've seen multiple 3 and 4.0 earthquakes off the West Coast over the last several days. I mean, look, Salton Sea moved, north of Los Angeles moved, even Nevada moved, and now we're seeing Texas, New Madrid, and of course Oklahoma swarm out with multiple 3 and 4.0 earthquakes. I mean, this is a lot of activity to see in a short amount of time, guys. This is just the last 48 hours. You know, looking at the activity internationally, that really lets you know what's been going on over the last several days, and that's a lot of movement to see. Really is. I'm exaggerating at all. This is just, 36 to 48 hours. And this is the amount of movement that we've seen in the West Pacific. 4 and 5.0 earthquake activity. And of course, there's people out there that say, 4.0 earthquakes happen all the time. Well, let's take it up to 5s. Okay, this is just the last few days of 5s. This entire plate, this entire region here have moved on at least a 5.0 level. It's spilled up through China and Russia, and now it just has silented out. It's become completely silent from Fiji south to New Zealand. Well, there's an entire area that's been displaced. We need to watch the areas just to the north, just to the east, and just to the west. So that pretty much nails it down to Sumatra, North Japan, and Fiji to Vanuatu. Okay? Oh, guys, have an earthquake plan ready. Be prepared just in case. And follow my motto. Don't be scared. Be prepared. You may never have to use your plan, but when you do have it ready in the time of distress, you will be relieved. You will be possibly the only person in your region, in your area, that is prepared. Very few people prepare for disasters, especially ones like this. And you've got professionals who say that you can't forecast earthquakes. They're not sitting there looking at a 3D globe, plotting out earthquakes and keeping track of where they're happening, guys. On the USGS site, it says they're not in the business of forecasting earthquakes or even trying to. They say it's impossible. Meanwhile, we're nailing down areas. I'm nailing down areas. Whoever it is you want to give credit to, I'm the only person doing it, areas specifically. And they're being hit. I mean, when you say Mono Lake to Los Angeles in the next 24 to 48 hours, and within 15 to 20 hours, the area just north of Los Angeles gets that 4.4 earthquake, that is forecasting an earthquake. When you say watch the East Coast over the next 24 to 48 hours for possible movement anywhere between North Carolina and New York, and it hits in Connecticut, that's called forecasting an earthquake. When you say watch the area southeast of Canada from southeast Quebec to New Brunswick, Canada, and they all get hit in the time that you're watching, that lets you know that you can forecast an earthquake and that the professionals are wrong. Earthquakes are related to one another over a distance. They do transfer. One earthquake does lead to another elsewhere. I've proved it. Everything they're saying from now on is false. 100%. They are blaming the earthquakes in Connecticut and up here in Canada on glaciers, saying that the glaciers have retracted back up and that has displaced the edge of the plate and causes deformation that's causing the earthquakes. They're discounting the pressure coming from the west because they say that it can't happen. They're trying to fit the facts into their own personal theories as opposed to just watching what's happening in front of their faces. Why? Because that's what they were taught. I was taught it too. Everybody was taught it in school. You have to throw that out. When you see and can predict earthquakes based upon earthquakes in other regions, it means earthquakes are related, and it means that that textbook that told you that earthquakes aren't related is wrong, and the teacher who told you that's wrong, and the professor and the institution that sponsors that is wrong, and they need to address their theories and address their outdated, outmoded theories to reflect the actual facts of today. Okay? So, again, earthquakes can be forecast. They were forecast, and now the areas that we were watching to be hit have started to move. You can watch my previous earthquake update from yesterday, naming those areas out, and from 8 days ago, naming out the East Coast, and then you can start paying attention to where the earthquakes are popping off and understand that maybe, possibly, you could start forecasting earthquakes yourself using the same method. Watching for earthquakes in a certain area and then watch the areas adjacent for movement. It's simple, and it's amazing that the professionals have not done that yet. I recommend if you are a professional, go download a copy of Earthquake 3D. You can get this awesome Earth graphic from my website for free, or any one you want, any orthographic map that you want to overlay, as long as it's a TGA file, okay? And do it yourself. The USGS map, guys, just look at what the USGS provides you. Just look, okay? Let's just go look at this. Okay, they give you this awesome interactive map, right? And it says click here to view on Google Maps, so you can go inspect the area like I just did, okay, for the earthquakes in Texas. So here we go. See anything there? Anything at all? Do you see any place markers? Where am I supposed to zoom in? Where was the earthquake? Oh, let's go look at it on Google Earth. Go look at what? Where am I zooming in? Now, you guys know that I'm supposed to zoom in around the Texas Stadium, right? Okay, let's go see if we can try and find it. I mean, we already looked at the Texas Stadium project. Where is it? I mean, there's no place mark. You can't even find out what you're trying to look at, and that's deliberate. Look, man, USGS is doing this on purpose. They want you ignorant. They want their jobs. They don't want somebody online being able to tell you where an earthquake's going to occur. They're not in the business of forecasting earthquakes. With all their money, they're not in the business of forecasting earthquakes, trying to figure out where they're going to happen beforehand. They're just in the business of reporting on earthquakes, like somehow like they're CNN or something, right? You know, we just report. We're not here to actually do anything. We're just here to bring you the news on the earthquakes. Well, okay, they can go ahead and bring that news, all right? I'm going to tell you where the earthquakes are going to occur. Other scientists are going to eventually figure out that I'm correct on this and that they're needing to adjust their theories, and they will eventually figure out that this movement here on the West Coast is related to the movement in the Midwest, which is related to the movement on the East Coast. I mean, in 7 days' time, if you get 4.3, 4.4, 4.2, and a 4.2 all along the edge of the craton, which extends from the west, south, and up to the northeast, that lets you know the edge of the craton across the entire United States has been moved on a 4.2 level at least across 3,000 to 4,000 miles, letting you know earthquakes are related over vast distances. And we're not talking massive earthquakes, we're talking smaller, moderate earthquakes that are related to one another. And again, that turns geology all on its head. And of course, we're not going to see any addressing of this for many years. Probably when I die, they will finally acknowledge it. And they won't give you any credit for it, I mean, some other crony will come along and take credit for this. But you guys all saw it here first. All the video documentation is here for the last, 4 years? The last 3 to 4 years of covering this? I mean, come on, guys. So much love, be safe, always have an earthquake plan ready, and be prepared just in case. You may never have to use it. Don't be scared, be prepared. Cheers.